Hello, Trailblazers, and welcome to another edition of Entrepreneur Journey. I'm so happy to have Otto. How do you say your last name, Otto? I don't want to mispronounce it.
Ruebsamen.
Ruebsamen. See, I might have mispronounced it, so I'm glad that you covered that for me. How are you today?
Doing well, doing very well.
Awesome.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I met you, it's been years. Sorry, my phone is ringing in the background. It is live. It's vibrating. It was off, but it's vibrating. But that's what happens when you're live, right? So I met you, it's probably been 6 or 7 years ago, probably at this point, at a Sedona mastermind. And one of the things that sticks in my mind vividly about you is you were flipping in the conference room. Is that still something that you do a lot of, like just do lots of flips? Is that part of your fitness routine, your workout routine?
Something that I'll throw a backflip now and then, just for fun.
Nice. Okay. The other thing I know about you is you are well-traveled. Like if you look on social media and you look at Otto, he's always somewhere different, it seems. So I know that you are well-traveled. Tell me the coolest thing you have seen while traveling.
About an hour and a half outside of Linli City in China, there's a mountain that you walk up, and there's all these stone steps, and so you're spending literally hours walking up stone steps, up and up and up and up. And after, I don't know, somewhere around 50,000 stone steps, you get to the top, and the entire next mountain is a carving of their god of longevity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I actually have a picture of it right here. Hold on a second.
So those that are watching this on video get the experience of actually seeing what this looks like.
You can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's like their version of Mount Rushmore, I guess.
Yeah, the entire mountain is a carving, and
wow.
that was really cool. The picture does not do it justice. So yeah, that was very different and unexpected and awesome.
Okay, so also travel related, what's the most interesting thing you've ever eaten while traveling?
Pig's windpipe.
Really? Where was that at?
Hong Kong.
Oh, wow. Would you eat it again?
No.
Good to know.
I gave it a try, and it wasn't my flavor.
Good to know. All right, so now I want to get into, well, first, tell us kind of a little bit about you, and then kind of dive into your journey. Tell us like what you do and who you are. And then dive into your journey from like where you began as an entrepreneur, and kind of give us the cliff notes to where you are now.
Okay. My background is as a direct response copywriter, writing cash getting copy, and also in large finance transactions. So I kind of started 20 years ago. 37 now. When I was 17, I very left brain, analytical. I didn't understand people, and I had huge communication gaps with people. So I started studying, psychology and sales. And then at 19, I started studying copywriting and understanding like trying to understand people, attempting to understand what is it and why do people do what they do? How do you connect with people better? How do you communicate in a way that, builds friends and sales and business, and, all the things that, as entrepreneurs, we kind of have to know and understand. So 20 years later, I understand something about people. I wouldn't say everything or even that much, but I do understand some about people, and what makes people tick, why people buy, why people don't buy, and different understandings of the psychology of who buys what and all that good stuff.
Nice. So what did you get into first as an entrepreneur? Was it the finance side, or was it the copywriting side?
Actually, it was more sales and copywriting.
Okay.
Yeah, more sales and copywriting and systematizing of businesses.
Oh, okay.
So when I was 20 into 21, I systematized the largest low-income single-family house business in landlording business in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
And so I got a deeper understanding of how finance works from that, and taking everything that was in this entrepreneur's head from building, the largest business of its kind in Oklahoma City over 26 years, and putting it into step-by-step written business systems that enabled him to go from a 55-hour work week down to 15 hours a week while his business tripled.
Wow.
And that that was a good result. And then I kind of kept going more in the sales and copywriting direction, and then later more into larger finance deals.
Nice, nice. Okay, now I want to kind of dive into some of that expertise around the copywriting and marketing and things like that. So let's talk about proper positioning and how copy can help you close more sales.
Yep.
So kind of dive into that a little bit.
Well, first off, and you're an expert in this, how you position and how you create offers with people is the biggest thing. Like having a clear offer that sets you apart from everybody else and gives you almost a competitive advantage just by the offer itself. That's ultimately what you want to do. That is your offer and your story are the two biggest pieces, in my opinion, of your whole sales messaging. Add that with a great hook and you're in like Flynn. But the one area where I feel people really lack in is in the data science side of their offers. So if you know much about hashing or getting intimate details on your anonymous website visitors, which is an area that a lot of marketers don't talk about, you can actually pull an entire dossier on website visitors to understand who they are, what they make for income, what they whether they're male or female, whether they own or rent, whether they what parts of the country they live in, and you can get in, even down to the types of books they read or other things, all from an anonymous website visitor, and knowing if they're married or single or divorced, and getting all of that intimate data. The really big companies out there do all of this, and then they're individualizing their communications based on the different buyer segments that come to them. And so when you really finite detail into understanding exactly who's coming to your website, and more importantly, exactly who is buying from you, you can look at, okay, well, these are the people that are buying from me. What's the story that they are buying into? Why are they buying? And you can start segmenting out your funnels so that maybe you have 3 or 4 different buyer types, and I mean, you're going to speak with a 53-year-old single woman much differently than a 25-year-old married guy with children. You're going to speak to them very differently, and likewise, you're going to speak very differently to a 25-year-old single guy very differently than a 40-year-old woman with 3 kids and a husband and a house in suburbia. Those are completely different conversations. They're completely different stories of engagement. And the deeper level of insight you have into why, into who exactly you're targeting, and what their daily life is like, what types of experiences they go through on a daily basis, weekly basis. Are they going to school and dropping their kids off or picking their kids up at school, or are they out, partying with the boys, throwing back, a half dozen drinks or more on a Friday night, the types of stories that you can have create that level of interest and engagement. And it's a very just really clearly understanding who you're speaking with will tell you the types of stories that will get their attention.
That's awesome. Now, a couple questions that I was thinking of while you were saying that. First off, the data science. I agree with you that a lot of people, they think they know who their customer is, right? But they don't look at the data to see who it really is, right?
Yes.
They have a preconceived notion of who it is. And sometimes that's close, but the data will really tell you who it is. Where does someone go to find that? There's Google Analytics. Most people know about Google Analytics. Most people don't know how to really dive into Google Analytics. But what other types of things are out there that someone could tap into to get that information?
If you're getting into hashing scripts like a SHA-256, and you're working with some of the good data companies out there, like Zap Data is a good one. There's a few others out there that when you're diving into it, it's all about your match rate. Having a good script, hashing script, and then getting match rates on your website visitors, and you start to kind of you start to really identify who they are, and then like once you get some of that data, you can go to my friend Gil has a company, dataenricher.com, and he'll tell you, like, he'll give you a lot of details on people. And for B2B, it's incredible. If you're selling any sort of a high ticket B2B, and you can start pulling back address and phone number of your wow. prospects, then you're like, hey, that's really useful. Yeah. So, stuff like that is really important. And I mean, the deeper level of insight, with your hashes or with your details, like your customer file, start doing data enhancement. Zap Data is really good for the data enhancement, understanding kind of where these people fall as far as, married, children, no children, single, home ownership status, types of car they drive, income level, education level. So you can start to paint a picture of who your buyers really are. And, Google Analytics is great, but also doing your own independent with, third-party services, you'll pay a little more for understanding that. And that little more you pay, helps you craft your story in a way that people will buy more and more from you. I have a good friend of mine who he is, I'm not going to get into the niche of what it is, but he's selling a very unique product to that helps protect pregnant women. Oh. And he's gotten his story so refined that he's selling an average order value of $160 for he's getting his clicks between 4 and 11 cents, and
that's good.
He's getting an 11% conversion ratio.
Nice.
So if you think about that for a second, if you're selling something to pregnant women, that can be a fairly rapid, important market. People are very passionate in that market. Mm-hmm. But to get your conversion ratio to 11% on cold traffic and get your clicks down to between 4 and 11 cents, you're doing really well.
And that's all based on how he took the data that he had, and then he was able to work his marketing around that data, how he was coming across in his copy and everything.
Correct.
Like all his messaging was coming across, so that that's the reason for the conversion rate.
Yeah, well, he did a lot of testing, found a lot of things didn't work, but realized with this particular product, it was first trimester women. So then he had to figure out, okay, where do first trimester women go, and how do I reach those particular people? So he dialed that in, and then his story was really dialed toward first trimester pregnant women, and that created such a strong story that his conversions are, most people would think, unbelievable. And I've seen the data, I've seen the statistics, I've nice. Seen the analytics of it, and he is actually closing 11.1% of the people that come to his website.
Yeah, there's an underlying lesson there about niching, right? He's not only niching to pregnant women, he's niching to a certain trimester. Right?
Yeah. And that's really understanding who's going to buy, why they're buying, and really how to reach them. When I talk with business owners or work with people, it's understanding the data of what, yes, you have something to sell. And for years as a copywriter, people would say, hey, this is what I have to sell. This is the marketplace, write me some copy. And, then later on, when I learned about data science, I'd start asking more questions of, okay, well, who's primarily buying, men or female, what stage of life are they in? What type of income do they have? Well, I don't know, just write me some copy, man. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
goodness.
okay, well, if I understand who's buying, then I can speak to them a little differently so they buy more.
Yeah, they're not giving you all the tools that you would need in order to craft the best copy.
Yeah. And, some of that's just experience in time in the business, understanding more about which questions to ask, and framing, how to frame your offer in a different way. One of the things that you do well is you help people, get unique with what they're doing and really be able to set themselves apart from the competition by focusing on that unicorn value of yours, and what makes you unique. So that's, yeah.
It's kind of crazy. If you look at the marketplace now, especially on social media, all the copycats, right? That kind of have similar offers and they're not really standing out. And so that's one of the things that we do is help people stand out in all these copycat offers.
Yeah. Which when you stand out and everyone looks the same and it's like, oh, everyone's purple and this person is green. Why are they green? Let's check this out. It gives you more attention.
And I want to go back to something you had touched on briefly a while back, which was story, right? Your story that, if anything, can separate you from anybody else. It's that, right? Your story. Yeah. and your authenticity. And I also think about something else that you said, and the way that you appear on social media resonates with certain people, and it turns off other people. Like there's one guy who does very well that, he goes out, shows how he's partying and everything on his social media. And I'm sure that's the kind of people that he attracts, people that want that lifestyle, going out and partying every night. But the same, like a guy like me that's in my late 40s, that's not my thing, right? So yeah. that wouldn't attract me. But I'm sure I know he gets plenty of business from that demographic. So
yeah. Well, a lot of my friends I seem to get the most engagement and likes for anything that I put up that's travel related. So, I just spent 6 weeks in Brazil and nice. On the way back hit Bogota, Colombia and Mexico City. So, a lot of people like that travel. A lot of my friends are remote workers and, don't always travel as much as they actually could. So, it's that desire to go experience the world versus stay home, and just work all the time. So you got to have that work-life balance.
Right. Yeah. Just to go back to story for a second, I think one of the things that I want to point out here is that a lot of people they'll have this incredible offer, but then they have no substance behind it. There is no story, right? Sometimes they'll leave, they won't include their story. They are not willing to share their story. And I think that is missing out for a lot of people. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree. When you get into the pain and why you're doing what you're doing, and, I have a good friend of mine who is a leading holistic educator in health, and he had a tumor the size of a golf ball develop in the back of his head when he was 21, and then he learned how to heal it naturally. And he's now in his 70s and he looks like he's about 42. And wow. People are like, wow, what do you do differently? And he has to tell his story because people don't understand until they hear the story. And it's the story that changes the minds and the belief systems of people through the story. And it really comes back to the stories you tell and how you tell them and the ways that you connect through the story that gets people to understand. It's our as humans, we didn't grow, we didn't grow into into the world with computers and everything, we came from the oral tradition of storytelling. And that's how back in, 10,000 years ago, we learned, oh, if you see tiger, run or hide because,
Yeah.
they ate this other person, and, it's through those stories. Or if you see this bush over here with these, little red berries, don't eat those berries because so-and-so ate them and died the next day. It's that type of stories that helped our, as humanity, us to actually, grow into where we are today as a society.
Yep. Now let me sell you my tiger survival kit.
Yeah.
I know the story of the man that was mauled and killed by the tiger, and I know how to survive them. So,
Yeah.
So nice. One of the other things I want to talk about is, I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with imposter syndrome and standing out, like we talked about, in a crowded market. How does someone handle that? And I think it's a big reason why some people win and some don't, because they struggle with this imposter syndrome and they have trouble standing out in a crowded marketplace. So can you kind of dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. You got a piece of paper? You at home, listening right here. Okay, if you have a piece of paper, great. If you don't, just imagine along with me. So you got, 1 point right here, and that's your marketplace and understanding about your marketplace. And then you have this other point over here that's your product or service, and everything about your product or service, which you probably know quite a lot about. And then this third point, which kind of makes it into a triangle, which is you or your company, the story of you. And your story is unique, that only can be told by you. And understanding your marketplace and who they really are gives you a clear understanding of what's going to resonate with them, and understanding your product and everything about, how that helps them, and why, from your story that, you're offering this, there's a center point between this triangle that gives you, your story with your prospects, your marketplaces, understanding in depth about them and your product, and how it all kind of melds together in this singular central point that is your uniqueness.
Nice. Awesome. So as someone that's super successful, we talked a little bit off air about some of the huge things that you've got going on recently. What do you see as the keys to success in business?
Oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we're trying to bootstrap things. And, if we can go out and get funding first, or have good funding backing us, that does so much for, reducing the stress levels and getting everything kind of straightened out, so that, it keeps everything a little bit easier. Yes, there are a lot of examples of people who have bootstrapped it up and built multi-million-dollar corporations. Absolutely. And there's way more examples of people who ran out of money and went through really difficult times thereafter and didn't make it. So, I look at funding as a big key to that. Who you get around you as your team, because, you as an entrepreneur, you're never going to be able to do everything. You're never going to be able to build a, $10 million, $100 million company, with yourself alone. You got to find key people and, work on your org chart, your organization chart, and, get the right people in the right roles moving things forward, because that makes the job easier for you. Obviously a converting offer, I know you help with that, and that gets everything moving. Having a good offer can literally, change your entire world. One offer can, take you from homeless on the street to, living in a multi-million-dollar home with, millions of dollars coming in every year. And it literally comes back to one offer, and then building on that success. And I really believe targeting the right people with the right message, the right story, those are the big keys that I see, because you can have the best offer in the world, but if you're selling it to the wrong person, it's never going to convert.
Right. You can't sell snow to Eskimos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So a few questions based on some of the things that you said about funding. Right. So what do you think somebody would have to have in place before they go seeking funding?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways in funding. There's the traditional looking for business credit off of your, utilizing your personal score. That's kind of the most common way for people to get into it. Focusing on, keeping your personal credit score good, and keeping your personal balances low on cards and other things, while acquiring business credit, and then using the business credit versus your personal, that keeps your personal credit higher, and enables you to get more business funding. That help is very helpful. And I've spent a lot of time around high finance transactions, so I have a different perspective on some of those bigger transactions. Working with a client right now, working on wrapping up a $200 million transaction to where they're going to get a pretty strong funding out of that for a very large project. And then but all of this kind of goes in hand in hand. On that particular situation, I was able to look at the project they're looking to do, and I looked in that particular marketplace, and there were two basic offers, and both of them were no frills offers. So I went and crafted a third offer, which will actually be the first of its kind in the world. And then it will kind of it'll give people in that particular marketplace, like a third option. You can go with this no frills option, you can go with this no frills option, or you can go with this option, which, yeah, the price is a little bit higher, and you get a community, you get other benefits, you get, there's a number of things stacked on top of it, where there's 7 or 8 different things that are all extras that are geared toward that existing marketplace of what they would probably want based on the type of income and net worth they have, versus these other no frills options, which are basically, hey, give us your money and we'll give you, what you're looking for, without anything additional. So, it's looking at, I wish I could give a little more specifics on it. It's just, I can in this exact juncture, and in a few weeks, I'll be able to talk more openly about it. But, understanding what is in the marketplace, and how you can be cooler, be different, and give more for often. I think a better, higher price is warranted, because people are willing to spend more for more value.
Yeah, you got to the point that I wanted you to get to, because yes, there's different ways to go about getting funding, but having the offer before you go and seek funding, and I kind of thought maybe you'd go into having the team in place. Would you already have the team in place, or is that something that you would do post funding, or kind of have an idea about the team to get?
In that particular one, I've isolated and already started building a core team for it. Not all, like, there's more people on the list that will be brought into that, but the real core people I've already been isolated and communicated with. It's like, hey, this is kind of what we're doing. Want to bring you on board. So it's stacking up, something that makes a lot of valuable sense, a lot of business sense, a lot of dollars and euros, or whatever currency you're operating in. And then looking at how your funding will supplant into that. I have another friend of mine who they have a process that is profitable. For every 15,000 in, they're generating about $1,000 a month. So they're, on a capital commitment, they're at about a year and 3-month payoff on a pretty good thing that's going to keep going for a number of years. It's going to be pretty successful for quite a long time. So he's been building out a plan that makes good financial sense, where he takes a certain amount of money, does some credit enhancement with that to stack it up higher, and then puts that into something that's going to repeatedly generate revenue, kind of like basic real estate, buy and hold type, but a different, a different type of asset class, different type of mechanism. But it all starts with something that makes money and that makes sense.
Nice. So last question on this. Do you want to go test a proven offer? Do you want to go test your offer? It's not proven yet. Do you want to go test your offer before you start to want to get funding and scale it?
That always helps.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier of a sell with the funding side, saying, hey, we have this proven offer, both traditional and non-traditional funding mechanisms. Sometimes you can't do that.
Okay.
Sometimes you're in a position where you have to get the funding first before the other piece. But in general, I mean, it's always great to have a test to see if people are going to be buying this based off of what you've put together.
Yeah, just to go get some market feedback, right, before you dive full in.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Otto, it has been awesome having you on the show today. Do you have where can people go to find out more about you and kind of what you're doing?
You can find me on Facebook, or if you want to drop me an email, I'll just give my personal email. It's Otto56, OTTO56 @gmail. I keep things pretty simple. So if I can help with anything, feel free to reach out.
And do you have any parting words for our entrepreneurs?
Find a work-life balance. As entrepreneurs, we spend years and years just grinding, and we don't take that time away to come back with a sharpened saw. So this is kind of my first kind of week back in the saddle, so to speak. And I have a different perspective because I took 6 weeks to sharpen the saw, experience things differently, experience a different culture where people are, as a friend of mine says, go someplace where your usual BS doesn't cut it. And when you come back, you have a different perspective.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for being on the show. And until next time, Trailblazers, enjoy the journey and keep moving forward.